Hi, everybody. I'm running a couple minutes late, few minutes late this evening. I do apologize for that. Had a very busy day today, but we are here. We are live. I've got my hot chocolate because for this Florida girl, 40 degrees is cold and it's hot chocolate weather. So, cheers to you. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to jump on board, and we've got a lot of great questions for tonight, guys. I'm just saying it's going to be a busy night tonight on the show. So, grab your favorite drink and get comfortable. Mm. Oh, yeah. Yep, whipped cream and everything. It was just that kind of a day. We need whipped cream and the hot chocolate tonight. All right, guys, as you guys jump on board, y'all know I love to hear from you, where you are, who you are, where you're from, and what's in your mug. We've got Eric on board drinking Big Red. We got Harsh. How you doing? And I've got a couple of text messages coming in. You guys are like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I was late." So, yeah. Here's what I love about this texting service. So if you guys haven't signed on, hey, comadre, thanks for jumping on board this evening. We've got Tom on board, compadre there from Miami Beach. Cheers, guys. All right, guys. So I'm just going to kick off this night the right way. Hey, Lori, thank you for checking in with us tonight. So, guys, I recently started a texting service. It's had a couple of hiccups, but I think I've smoothed out all the hiccups so far. There you are, Andrea. So, Andrea is a perfect example of why I love my texting service because Andrea couldn't find me this evening. So, she was texting me on my texting service going, "Where are you?" And I could send her the response, "I'm on now." So, guys, for those of you who have not yet joined my texting service, I promise you, I don't sell your number. I don't spam you. It's just to let you know when I'm going live and really important announcements. So there's the number 855-721-0837. Text Cosi Talks, just like that, one word, all caps to that number, and you can be on my texting service, guys. It's proving to be really helpful with sending out announcements and stuff like that, especially when you guys are having trouble finding me. We got Charlie McCoy coming in from New York. Y'all must be really cold up there. We've got Chuck looking forward to tonight's show. I am too, guys. I am too. I took a 2 week little family break there for Christmas time, enjoyed my family and being with my family. But I got to tell you, I've been doing the show for 5 years, guys. Last week, January 4th, was my 5 year anniversary of opening up my clinic, of starting the show. It was my 7 year anniversary of having my first big cancer surgery. So starting off the year right and doing this is what I love to do. It is. I had a very long day, lots of obstacles that got in the way. Life just throwing me obstacles left and right today, but it just kind of brings a smile to my face and gives me a new energy when I know that 8:30 is rolling around and we get to do this show together. All right, so we got Rhonda on board. Uh, yeah, I know you're in South Dakota, Marianne, drinking your electrolyte drink. All right. We got Jeff on board with just water. Jeff, so glad to hear you and so glad to have you on board this evening. And I hope you're feeling better. Patricia's saying it's cold in Florida. Coffee too. Hey there, Barbara. Yes, guys. So, guys, we're going to get this night started off right. Cheers to you. Clink. I've got my hot chocolate with whipped cream because it's a whipped cream kind of day today. Mm. And I'm super happy because y'all sent me a lot of questions. Many of you were tagging me in the amputee Facebook groups. And I really love it when you can do that. I know I belong to about 20 or 30 Facebook groups, so it's kind of hard for me to scroll through all of them. So whenever you guys find someone who has a question that you think I can answer, or for example, there was one gentleman who was looking for information for his wife who's a new amputee and he didn't know where to go. You guys tagging me so that I can invite them to the show is really helpful. So thank you again for those of you who did that this week. So let's get this party started. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Cosi Belloso. I'm a physical therapist, amputee specialist. I've been a PT, I can now say, for 20 years. Ah! I do have a private practice here in Tampa that is exclusive for working with the amputee and limb loss community. So, hey, Grant saying he's in late from Salt Lake City, Utah. We're glad to have you here. I know, Marianne, in Florida, we're geckos. We totally don't understand what cold is. I will be the first to say I am a wussy when it comes to, I like cold weather. I just don't like being cold. So I don't mind the cold weather. But as you can see, I'm layered up in my Lululemon this evening, which they have graciously invited with me this evening. Utah, we got a lot of folks from Utah here this evening. Hello, Jenny. We got Kim and we got Michelle from Michigan. Oh, Michigan's also a cold place too. Yeah, no. I hear you guys. But when it comes to the hot weather, Floridians can hang. All right, guys. So let's just go ahead and jump in and get started. We've got our first question was sent to me by Jenny. Jenny says, I have a quattro knee and an Oser ProFlex low profile foot. My residual limb is long, but I'm short. So my prosthetic leg is short. My prosthetist is with a particular clinic, and I've been seen by a physical therapist specializing in amputations. Your website mentions 3 free month trial through participating clinics. Am I seeing a participating clinic? If not, is your program self-explanatory and explains everything about what to do? Exercise does not come naturally to me, and I want to make sure I'm doing them properly. So lots of things going on here, and I want to address a lot of these things. First of all, you got a really nice little prosthetic setup there. I haven't worked with a quattro knee yet, but I've been hearing a lot of wonderful things from people who've been using the knee. A lot of people active folks who really love the response and the comfort and the ease of using that knee. So I'm very curious to get my hands on one, hopefully sometime soon. And the next part, she says, I have a long residual limb, but I'm short. Okay, so let's just clarify something here, guys. It doesn't matter how tall or short you are. Okay, if your residual limb is long, especially as an above the knee amputee, you're going to have an advantage there because you have a longer lever arm. Now, if you are shorter stature height, your prosthetist might have to get creative with how they build in that height with your prosthesis. And there may be certain feet on the market that you may not be able to use simply because they require what's called a build height. So you might need more space from the ground to use certain feet. But nowadays, guys, there's so many choices out there. So if you're somebody who is short in stature, but your residual limb is long, no worries. You're good to go. Okay. Now, this person happens to be followed by a physical therapist who specializes in amputations. Oh, right? So what I tell folks who buy my Strong Body program is to take that program with them to their physical therapy appointments. Okay. So guys, let me just back it up just a little bit. And yeah, partially this is a shameless plug for my program. But the reason is because it's the only one out there of its kind. So I also consider it to be a clinical resource. So about a year ago, I launched the Cosi Talks Strong Body program. Many of you here have the books. Many of you here have been subscribing to the videos. I'm trying to dig it up right now. Okay. And what the Strong Body program is, it's a collection of over 150 exercise videos that are specifically meant for above the knee and below the knee amputees. Okay. And the way I designed this program, I put it in terms of strengthening exercises for arms, for legs, and for your core, and then balance and flexibility. Okay. So I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to share my screen momentarily. Okay. There's a website where you can, for a subscription, you can access all of the video exercises. Okay. And then to go along with those exercises, I'm going to show you guys a sample here. Many of you have already purchased one of 2 books. I have a below the knee book and I have an above the knee book. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because there's been a lot of you asking, hey, I have the program now. How can I get started? So let's just review the exercises in this program so you guys can get an idea as to how to start putting programs together for yourself. All right, let me make sure I can share this screen and do this properly. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to take you through it. This is the main page, and I'll be throwing up the website in just a minute. So this is the main page. You guys can see a couple of the sample videos here. Okay, here, actually, right here they are. Here are some of the featured exercises. So if you're kind of curious as to what these exercises look like, this is where you can go. Okay. Now, many of you were asking me about this 3-month membership. Okay. This is for prosthetist clinics. There are some clinics that have purchased my programs for their patients. Okay. Not too many, but they're starting to grow. Okay. And you can ask your prosthetist, are they a participating clinic in terms of this program? So once you subscribe, you will log yourself in. And here we go. There we go. And the way I designed this, guys, is exactly how I work with my own patients. There's a lot of education involved here. So I have all of the exercises divided up into the body parts: arms, legs, core, balance, and flexibility. So when you come to the beginning of the menu, right, you can watch the videos on arms on each of the body parts here. Okay. And I explained to you how you start putting together your program for arms, what muscle groups you're going to be focusing on, and how to progress yourself as you get stronger. Okay. So each one of the body parts has this explained, has an explanation video with it. And you see something here called the phases. Okay. So, kind of how we structure things in physical therapy world is we have the acute phase, we have post acute phase, and then we have the outpatient long term phases, right? So, I just made it simple and I called it phase one, phase two, phase three, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Okay. Each of the body parts is divided up. So, you have arms, phases one, two, and three, legs, phase one, two, and three, core, phase one, two, and three, so on and so forth, right? Now, here's the cool thing about my program, no one is just one phase. What do I mean by that? Okay, so for example, for me in my own personal fitness program right now, I'm like a phase two with my arms, I'm a phase three with legs, and I'm a phase one with core. Okay, so you can combine the different phases to create a program for yourself. Okay, and you can do that with a checklist right here, right? So you can check if you're in above the knee and you want to do legs phase one exercises and let's say core phase two exercises. And then it populates it with all the exercises right there. Okay. And you can see all of this. Yeah. Hopefully, let me stop sharing, get back to you guys and see what kind of comments are coming through. So hopefully all of that kind of came through. All right. Did you guys see that, by the way? Can you guys give me a thumbs up if that went through, or if I was just kind of talking to myself this whole time? I think I did the share screen option, but I'm not sure if it worked. Can you guys give me a heads up if it worked? Yes. Okay, good. It came through. Thank you guys for letting me know. Okay. So the question a lot of people ask me is, how do you start this program? How do you start any fitness program? First thing I would tell you is, go to your physical therapist. Even if your physical therapist is not an amputee specialist, any licensed PT can open up my book and start putting together a plan of care for you. Okay. And the book, by the way, is designed just like the program. Okay. You have arms, you have a legs section, you have, I'm flipping through it, right? Core, balance, and flexibility. And then within each section, okay, you have, arms phase one, arms phase two, phase three, so on and so forth. Okay. And guys, those of you who've been watching my show, you know I love to give information and education. So a lot of these videos, I do a lot of education within the videos itself. And I talk about proper form. I talk about what muscle groups are being worked with that particular exercise. Same thing with the book. I write, my husband says, I write like I speak. Okay. So all of that education and information is in there. Okay. The ideal thing is for you to purchase this program and use it with your physical therapy program. In the physical therapy clinics right now, they don't have programs for amputees. That's the whole reason why I did this, because I myself, for my own clinic, I didn't have software that I could print out exercises for my patients to give it to them. I was basically handwriting out all of my exercises for my patients, right? So for me, for example, when I have a patient come to my clinic to see me, they automatically get my program. And that way they can continue to do it at home and watch the videos and kind of refresh their memory about what we talked about in their treatment that day. Okay. So if you're working with a physical therapist, take this to them. They will be so happy. Okay. And those of you who are just like, okay, do I want to make that investment? Do I not want to make that investment? Number one, it's an investment in your health. Okay. And for me, since, there's no gym memberships out there that are specifically for amputees, this is kind of like a gym membership. Okay. And you can see in the front main page, I have sample videos. So watch those sample videos. If you like it, then you know it's worth the effort, right? That's kind of how I see it. And then, guys, as always, I have my email everywhere. My email is everywhere. So send me your questions. Many of you have had this program now since the beginning. And by the way, thank you so much, guys, for that support. And you've been emailing me your questions on a regular basis. I have one young lady in here who will remain nameless from the Dakotas, and she sends me regular messages and questions about the program and how she can continue to work with her PT with the strengthening program with the strong body. And I love it. I love that she messages me on a regular basis with questions. That's the whole point of me doing this show and doing this program. Okay. So hopefully I covered it enough. Jenny, I'm so glad you were able to listen to that explanation. And guys, I do like to just kind of go over the program and explain it to you. So just to make it easy, when I designed this program, I tested it out with many of you, my viewers, and the program is set up based on the feedback that I got back from you. So there you have it. And there's the website for the Strong Body program there. So Jenny, thank you for asking that question. All right, guys, next. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. What if we no longer have PT? That's a very good question. Guys, as a physical therapist, I'm always going to encourage you to maintain your relationship with your physical therapist, okay? If you had a physical therapist in the past, okay, you got to think outside the box, okay? If you get this program and you're like, I'm not sure where to start, haven't done a fitness program in a while, go make an appointment with your PT. Seriously, guys. And some of you might say, well, my insurance may not cover it. Here's my answer to that. How many of you would be willing to pay a personal trainer for 1 or 2 sessions to set up an exercise program for you? A lot of you do. And a lot of you pay some really big bucks for those personal trainers who don't have any experience with amputees, who are definitely not clinicians. Okay. How do I know that? Because in my area, a lot of patients find me because of that same reason, that they might be walking perfectly fine with their prosthesis, but they want a fitness program and they realize their personal trainers, no offense, are not cut out for that. There's only one personal trainer I know of. His name is Trevor Bunch, and he's an amputee himself living in Missouri or Mississippi. I always forget where he's at, but he's all the way out in a different state, right? So guys, a lot of times my patients might come to me and say, hey, Cosi, we just want you to put together a fitness program for us. And they either continue working with me, or sometimes because they live far away, they'll take the program that I have set up and taught them, then take it to their personal trainers, and then their personal trainers can follow what I've already started. Okay. So if you don't have a physical therapist, find one, because this is a lifelong relationship. The same way that you are going to have a lifelong relationship with your prosthetist, your physical therapist also needs to be a part of that relationship. Okay. Because as your body changes, as you get older, as you get new componentry and your componentry changes, you're going to want to have the physical therapist on speed dial just in case you need any tightening up of that gait training. Right. I just took a course. It was a fantastic course in St. Augustine in December, given by Dr. Scott Love. He's a professor at the University of St. Augustine. He is an amputee himself. Fantastic course. And that was one of the things that we were discussing amongst ourselves, is just saying, yes, how those of us who work with amputees, we encourage our amputees to give us a call, to check in with us maybe once, maybe twice a year, if there's any changes in the prosthetic foot, in the prosthetic knee, in the socket that you're using, right? If you want to improve your fitness and you don't know where to begin. Okay. So calling up your physical therapist and saying, hey, I know we haven't chatted in a while. I want to do a fitness program. My insurance won't cover that one visit. Can I pay out of pocket? Okay. And a lot of the physical therapy rates, guys, they're actually charging sometimes, in some cases, less than what some of these personal trainers are charging, which hurts me just a little bit. But, when you weigh between, physical therapist, clinician, personal trainer, might want to start it off with the physical therapist. Gail says, I had 3 PT appointments as a bilateral below the knee 2 years ago during COVID. So again, everybody's insurance is different. And I'm not going to lie, guys, our healthcare system, when it comes to reimbursement for physical therapy, is right. There's a lot of holes in the system there. As a clinician, I figured out how to work around the system to help my patients as best as I can, helping you as viewers as well. But it does require thinking outside the box, and don't be afraid to do that. The worst that can happen is that somebody will say, nope, can't do that for you. But there's no harm in asking, right? Okay. And by the way, if a physical therapist turns you down, go find yourself another physical therapist. Yep. All right. Another Jenny. We had lots of Jenny send in questions this week. Let's see. My pleasure, Anita. And Anita, please give me, let me know. I'm starting to build my network a little bit more around the United States in terms of physical therapists who work with amputees. It's still a very small, limited network, but you never know. So if you guys are ever looking for a physical therapist, send me an email as to where you live, and we'll see if you get lucky and have one in your area. Or vice versa, those of you who have a physical therapist amputee specialist in your area, send me their information so that I can add it to my files as well. All right, so this Jenny asks, very entry level question. My mom was just recently became an above the leg amputee both legs. So I'm assuming she means above the knee amputee on both legs. She's still in the hospital healing, but moving to rehab soon. I've gotten no help or advice at the hospital. I hope the question doesn't sound stupid, but what do I do with her pants? No stupid questions here. Do I cut and sew them to shorts? Do I sew them closed at the bottoms? Unfortunately, due to her age, lack of strength overall health, prosthetics will not be an option. So my next question is, any suggestions on good wheelchairs? So Jenny, with regards to the shorts, perfectly normal question. I would say there's a variety of ways. And guys, I would love to hear you guys chiming in on this. This is one of those life hacks moments. Those of you who are my bilateral amputees, did you just hack off your pants? Did you buy shorts? Thank you, Grant. Much appreciated. What did you do? The one thing I would not recommend, Jenny, is I would not recommend sewing the bottom of your mom's shorts off. That can be very irritating to the skin at the bottom of her residual limbs. What I would suggest, especially if you're in cold weather, and here's an idea, putting on the prosthetic socks. Okay, so even though your mom's not going to be using a prosthetic device, she might benefit from the residual limb socks. And those are usually made out of a wool or a wool blend. So they're nice and warm and they're shaped for the limb. Okay, so you can ask your doctor to see if they would prescribe your mom some of the prosthetic socks so that she can wear shorts and then the prosthetic socks for the days that are really, really cold, like what we're experiencing now. And I'm not sure what area of the US Jenny lives in, but that's an idea. With regards to wheelchairs, okay, very, very specific. And Andrea, my OT, I want you to back me up here and make sure I'm giving out the right information on this one. When it comes to our bilateral amputees, especially our bilateral above the knee amputees, okay, your center of gravity is different. You don't have the weight of your full legs underneath you. So if you sit down in a regular wheelchair, you're going to have a greater risk for tipping, right? Because the wheelchairs are kind of balanced to have weight of the person sitting in the chair and the weight of the person's legs into the footrests. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. So if that person doesn't have the weight of their legs weighing the chair down, right? Wheelchair has a chance of flipping back. Okay. When you're in rehab, you'll probably be assigned a temporary wheelchair. And usually it's our patient care techs who assign these wheelchairs. So they should know, right, to put anti tipping devices on a person who has bilateral above the knee amputation to prevent that wheelchair from tipping. Okay. When it comes time to ordering the wheelchair that your mom will be primarily using, number one, that's done by the rehab physical therapist. Nobody else should be ordering that wheelchair except for the rehab physical therapist and the rehab occupational therapist. Why? Because those are the experts on wheelchairs. Okay. They're going to be ordering one where the axis is going to be set back 2 inches, and that's to prevent the tipping. Okay. Next thing you want to consider in a wheelchair, especially if your mom's a little bit older, perhaps not as strong, is something that's lightweight. Okay. Because you want to give her as much independence as possible. And again, this is a skill they're going to be working on in the rehab setting. They're going to be hopefully teaching her how to transfer in and out of that wheelchair from the bed to the wheelchair. And they're also going to be teaching her how to maneuver and manipulate the wheelchair in the community. Okay. Potentially even how to go up a curb and down a curb in the wheelchair, how to build up that endurance to keep herself going. So you want to have something that's lightweight. And the other thing to think about is something that is as narrow as possible. Obviously, your mom's size will be taken into account, and they're going to do measurements on her hips. When you measure a person for a wheelchair, you measure them sitting down if I'm remembering this correctly. It's been a few years since I've ordered a wheelchair, right? But I still got it in there. You measure them at the widest part of their hips when they sit down. And then you put the wheelchair accordingly. You measure the wheelchair accordingly, right? So you don't want a really big, clunky wheelchair that's going to be difficult to fold up and put into a car. You want something as small and light and compact as possible that's going to be safe. All right, hang on. Ooh, lots of comments coming in. I've been neglecting you guys. Hang on a second. Mm, Jill says, in the acute rehab, I was fitted for a wheelchair specific. Yeah, you would. That's where you would be fit for your wheelchair. Marianne says, I wear shorts all the time everywhere. Also, she may not get cold. I really don't anymore. Marianne, darling, you live in the Dakotas. We could probably put you in Antarctica and you still wouldn't get cold because you're so used to living in the cold. But you're right, Marianne. To a certain degree, when a person loses that much surface area through amputation, the homeostasis of temperature and regulating the temperature does fluctuate in people. Some people, they start sweating more profusely because they have less body surface area to sweat from. So they may run a little hot. Let's see. Ashley, I'm going to get to your question in just a minute. Yeah. And in rehab, inpatient rehab settings, guys, they have a million and one wheelchairs just for that reason. And there's like so many parts on the wheelchair. Like, seriously, whenever I would do a wheelchair order when I was working in inpatient rehab, it was like 20 different components to the wheelchair that you had to specify and then justify to the insurance company as to why a patient would need this particular characteristic. Guys, we're even talking about, that part of the wheelchair that you use to move it, right? There's a specific coating that goes on that wheelchair. If you're a spinal cord injury patient and you don't have good dexterity, it's a special coating so that it kind of allows you to just push that wheelchair better. Like, that's an option. That's how like detailed these options are. Let's see. Cold weather in Wyoming, Chuck makes sure he has pockets and puts a loose twist in the pant leg and stuffs the rest into the pocket. There you go. I like that. Andrea, my OT, says a power chair is a great option for a double above the knee amputee, especially if not a prosthetic candidate, and seat belt. Yes. Yes. And again, when it comes to power chair versus manual chair. So as my first patient ever said, she goes, that power chair, it's one of those little knobby job things that moves the chair. Yes. So it's one of those power chairs that you just move the joystick and it moves the chair for you. When it comes to making a decision between a power chair and a manual chair, you have to take into account the individual. What are their goals? Are they somebody who wants to be active in the community, even if they're not necessarily a prosthetic candidate? Are they somebody who has the potential to build that endurance to move that wheelchair? Because you do need quite a bit of endurance to move that wheelchair. Okay. Is that not the case? Are they not going to have the ability to build that endurance, but they still want to have that quality of life of being able to go out on the community and participate in the community? Okay. The drawback to that power wheelchair is they're big, heavy, and expensive, right? And typically you need to have a car specially fit to be able to either put the wheelchair on the back of the car, like a hitch on a special type of hitch that goes on the back of the car, or the kind that goes into the actual car, which is a bit more complicated, and that's usually a van. So just, again, things to think about, guys, things to think about. Forward and backward scoot or sliding board. Yeah. And depending on the individual, again, some individuals, they learn how to move into a chair using their arms and they slide over without a problem. Some people continue to use the sliding board. It's just that wooden rectangular shaped board that goes under the tushy and the person just slides over that board into the chair. Marianne says, not true. I had poor circulation, so I was always cold when I had legs. Interesting. Yes, Jill. So the other reason for as narrow as possible is to get in through the doorways in the house. Yes. So thanks to the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, and good heavens, I should know when that came into effect. I'm going to get my PT card taken away. But anyways, when the ADA came into the fact, one of the compliance things was doorways in homes had to be built to a certain width, right? And I used to know those numbers. I don't know those numbers anymore. That's what happens when you don't work in a particular setting. You start losing brain cells, right? But your doors have to measure a certain width. However, some of us who live in homes that were built before the ADA was created may not have those wide enough doorways. So, yes, trying to get a wheelchair that is as narrow as possible while still being the right fit, right, is kind of a priority. Yeah? Y'all are good tonight. Loving all these comments. All right, guys, now that there's several of you on here tonight, I'm going to put this out there one more time. And if I sound like I'm plugging, it's because I am. I'm going to put out the texting service. So many of you have already joined. Many of you have been asking me, how do you know when I go live? How can I find you? How can I make it easy? If I want to send you a question, by the way, y'all didn't realize that, but you can actually text me back on this texting service. I'm still learning everything, but you can text me back. And some of you have already started doing that. If you're not on my texting service, please text that number 855-721-0837 and text Cosi Talks, just like that, all caps, one word, and you'll start receiving my text messages. I don't spam. It's just to notify you about certain things. So Susan said we had to widen our bathroom doorway. Jill says my house is 100 years old. Those are going to be real narrow doorways and low ceilings, I imagine. Benny's here. It's okay, Benny. You're late, but I'm happy to see you, man. And Ashley says doors have to be a minimum of 32 inches. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to Ashley's question because Ashley had one. You thought I'd forgotten about you, didn't you, Ashley? I don't forget about you. So Ashley asks, what can I do to help heal an infected ingrown hair? I have stayed off my leg and I clean it daily, but it doesn't seem to want to heal up. Okay, so here's the thing. Y'all know with me and skin, I'm always like super protective about what's going on with the skin. Ingrown hairs happen a lot. And when we had our dermatologist on board, I need to bring him back. Dr. Barrios was so much fun to have on the show. I need to drag him back on the show so we can talk about stuff like this, right? So the ingrown hair happens because basically you have just dead skin cells and sweat and oil, just normal things that start building up on the opening of the hair follicle, right? So it kind of starts building up, building up, building up. And then pretty soon the little hair tries to grow out and it's blocked, right? And then it gets all red and inflamed and hot and bothered. The reason why this happens to you more as an amputee is because when you're wearing your liner, right, those dead skin cells just kind of tend to pile up. Okay. So it all starts with your skincare routine, right? What are you using for your skincare routine? There are some people that are really prone to ingrown hairs no matter how well they take care of their skin. So sometimes we can recommend what's called a salicylic acid cleanser. Let me just write that down. Hopefully I spelled it correctly. Salicylic acid cleanser. And that sounds like really ominous. But nowadays, we have a lot of really nice products out there on the market. Over the counter, Neutrogena has one that I like to recommend. If it's, gentle enough for your face, typically I can recommend trying it on a spot on your skin, right? So basically with that salicylic acid, it just kind of provides like a chemical, kind of like a chemical debriding of those dead skin cells, right? And it just kind of keeps those rough skin cells off. The other way of doing it is also when you're in the shower, warm terry cloth and just gently kind of just rub it on your skin. Just again, you're sloughing off all those dead skin cells, right? Yes. So the Vital Fit is great in the sense that it keeps your skin healthy. It doesn't necessarily have something to help with the ingrown hairs, however. Okay. What I don't recommend is I don't recommend people picking at it because when people pick at it, then it gets infected. And especially some of you who may have a history of MRSA, then you start to get into real problems. Okay. So, Ashley, I know you take really good care of yourself. I would recommend that if it's getting really, really bothered, just go to your dermatologist and have them maybe lance it, or they can be the ones to quote unquote pick at it, right? And perhaps get it out for you because I know those can get really bothersome there. But yes, guys, as far as maintenance and skin health, I do love the Vital Fit products. And I think my code is still actually those of you who like to use their products, which is many of you here, you can still use my code and get a 10% or $10 discount off their products. So if you need a refill on their products, go ahead. The COSI 10 code is still working, which is kind of awesome. Love that company. Okay. Ashley says, I use Dial body wash and have a script for clindamycin phosphate topical solution. There you go. Okay. So again, I can't remember the agent by which clindamycin works, but yes, it's basically something that's also used for acne to basically help keep those pores clean. So if you are someone who is prone to ingrown hairs, your dermatologist is someone who can be really, really helpful. And I'm constantly referring people back to the dermatologist when they have something, just skin issues that are just above my pay grade, off to the dermatologist because again, they lay eyes on it. They can diagnose it just like that and give you something that you can manage it yourself. Okay. What is Bob? Oh, Bob is actually, I know, I just put Roxy Roo. Have you guys seen Roxy Roo? Roxy Roo is this sweet little dog. And hang on, I got the book right here. I'm going to give my girl Hillary a plug here because this is just the cutest thing ever. So my colleague, fellow PT, Hillary Sussman, you can see the name down here. She wrote 2 books actually on this little dog, tripod dog named Roxy. And it's 2 children's books, Roxy and Malibu. Malibu is missing the ear right there. And it's just a wonderful little book on how to talk to children about amputations and differences, limb differences. So she has the sweetest little dog here. So this is Bob's pet right now. So we're just putting, and Bob's just chilling otherwise than that. So yeah, that's my little plug for Hillary. It's a beautiful book series. She's doing wonderful things. Look her up on Instagram. You can see her under my Instagram friends as well. Okay, let's see. All right. Here's the other thing for preventing ingrown hairs, especially for my ladies. I do get a lot of ladies that they come and they say, I want to shave my residual limb. I don't like having the hair on there. Ladies, I understand. And even some of my men, they're just like, oh my gosh, it's irritating because some of the men have really hairy legs and really hairy limb, and it's just irritating to their skin, right? I don't recommend shaving it. Okay. Again, the reason is when you shave it, you're exposing that hair follicle, right? So as the hair tries to grow in, it's going to get bumped up against some of those dead skin cells and get blocked. And that's how you get those ingrown hairs. Okay. There are hair removal services such as laser hair removal, and that's a permanent hair removal. So for my ladies, sometimes I say, might be worth the investment, especially if you are prone to ingrown hairs, to get the laser hair removal done because that basically zaps the hair follicle so no hair grows back. Sometimes that's even covered under insurance. Okay. And I have heard some of my amputees say that they were able to get that covered under their insurance because it was a medical necessity because they kept getting ingrown hairs and little skin infections from that. Okay. For my gentlemen, some of my gentlemen might opt to do that laser hair removal as well, or to use clippers. So if you have just, long leg hair, use the clippers on a low setting so you still have some of that hair shaft left so that it's not completely shaved off. You're just kind of trimming it down just a little bit. And honestly, a lot of my guys over the course of a few years, they start losing the hair and the hair just doesn't grow back because with the liner getting on there and constantly shearing the hair off, it just stops growing in. But in the meantime, if you want to kind of deal with it, there's a couple of options there. And again, guys, this is where your dermatologist can be really, really helpful with helping you manage these issues with the ingrown hair. Sound good? Okay. Ooh. I love this question. I'm so happy when I hear these kind of questions, especially from the moms. Hang on. I love cold weather just because I can justify having hot chocolate. Just saying. Love my hot chocolate. There was one of you, I think it was you, Grant. My first year of doing this show, it was Grant, it was you, that you sent me hot chocolate from Utah. And it was the sweetest thing ever. So I don't know why I just thought of that. Just came to my mind right now. All right, here is a question from Mary, and this is a Cosi poll. So this means I want you guys to answer this question. Mary says, my son is starting his journey to receive his above-the-knee prosthetic. What is one thing you wished you knew before starting the process? Yeah, start putting in those comments right now. So this is a mama trying to help out her boy right now. I wouldn't mind that at all, Grant. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. But I want you guys to answer this question, especially, and not just for those of you who are above the knee, those of you who are below the knee in my bilaterals. What is one thing that you wish you had known going into that first prosthetic appointment? Now, first, when this individual posted this on the Facebook support page, I automatically grabbed my interview with Ronnie. Ronnie Dixon. Y'all remember Ronnie? Hope you remember him because he's coming back on the show this year, and I'm so excited about that. But Ronnie is a clinic owner, Prosthetic Orthotic Associates in Tennessee. He's also an above the knee amputee himself. Okay. And the very first show I did with him last year was how to choose your prosthetist. And in that video, we also talked about, what to expect when you go to that first appointment. Andrea, that's awesome. I have never thought of that, but you're so true. You're so true. Andrea is saying underwear. They got to get hands up and personal. Yeah. So this is one of those, remember the old joke about the mom telling her kids, always make sure you wear clean underwear because if you get into an accident, I want to make sure the emergency people know that you have clean underwear on. Anybody remember that old joke? Anybody? Come on, help me out, guys. Crickets chirping. No. Yes. Hey, Stephen, glad for joining in. Anyway, so when you go to that first appointment, maybe it might be the first, might be the second appointment. But yes, at some point, okay, thank you guys. I was just like, come on, somebody show me some love here. Dual seat, there we go. So that at one point, they are going to be fitting you for this prosthesis. And for those of you, especially if you're in above the knee, if you are a hip disarticulation, they might have you in your underwear so that they can do the casting, right? Because they have to be able to access all the points on your bottom, certain points in your bottom and around your hip and all of that area. So bring out your best tidy whities or your Superman underoos and make sure that you're comfortable in the particular underwear you're going to be wearing. Right, guys? See, I'm not the only one, right? Well, I didn't say I'm old, Charlie. I'm just saying, it was a saying, right? Jill says, mother said exactly that. Get tight-fitting bike shorts. You really get groped. Oh, Facebook's going to flag me now for this episode. I wouldn't want to use the word groped, but yeah, there's a lot of personal touching that has to happen. And again, it's accessing the landmarks. And you know what? Now that we are talking about that, let's just talk about that, especially for those of you who are watching this for the first time going, oh dear heavens, what is going to happen to me when I go into that prosthetic clinic? Okay. So especially those of you who are above the knee amputees, the below the knee amputees, not so much. You don't have to be up here. The prosthetist is basically working in this area right here. Now, the prosthetist, when they stand you up and some of the measurements that they will be taking, it's going to involve poking into your hips. And as physical therapists, I do the same thing. So when I look at my patient to see if they're level, I basically am jamming my hands into their hips to find their hip bones, the top of their iliac crest. So if you're someone who carries some weight around here, we've got to kind of dig in there to get to the bone. And especially if you're ticklish like me, yeah, you gotta get in there just to kind of, find out and make sure the hips are level. The other thing, okay, the butt bone, otherwise known as the ischial tuberosity. Some people call it the sits bone. Some people call it the IT bone, ischial tuberosity. Basically, when you're sitting down nice and even, okay, you've got one on each side, one here and one here. Right? So when you're sitting down even, you're sitting down on your ischial tuberosities. The ischial tuberosity is one of those landmarks that the prosthetist uses to see if your socket is fitting properly as an above the knee amputee. Okay. So it means that you will be, they'll be behind you and they're going to have to kind of stick their hand or stick their fingers to palpate that bone. Right. So it's unfortunately, they got to kind of get in there and feel that bone. It's not an internal examination. Let me just kind of put that out there. It's from the outside, but they do have to get to that bone to make sure that it's situated properly within that socket. Okay. The other part, okay, is right here in the pelvic area, right in the groin area. Okay. And they're measuring to see the pubic symphysis. So it's the bone that's right down in the middle, right there. So yeah, they have to see where that is sitting. Okay. And sometimes, especially if as an above the knee amputee, you're having discomfort in that area because the socket really gets up and personal in that area, they have to stick their fingers in that area, right, to see if it's sitting properly. Okay. And so guys, for men and women alike, it can be some men and women, they don't care, doesn't bother them. Other men and women, it does present as an issue. The important thing is, guys, as clinicians, we are trained to explain to our patients what it is we are doing. Okay. If I'm going to go sticking my finger on someone's tushy, I'm going to tell them what I'm doing and why and what they can expect. And then obviously asking for permission. And it's saying, okay, I'm going to go in there. And even with my patients that I've worked with for years, right? If I know I've got to go touching someplace that's considered to be a private area, I'm going to let them know what I'm doing, why, and hey, is it okay? It's funny, I've never really covered that topic before on the show, and it's something I should have been covering, right? It's like one of those, huh. So thank you to that Mary for asking that question. All right, here, let me read some of these comments coming in. Oh, right. Andrea makes a point of saying some people go commando. So yeah, if you're going in for your prosthetic appointment, not the time to go commando, guys. Okay. Get yourself a cheap pair of underwear, put the underwear on. Jill said that she wears biker shorts. Biker shorts can be fine. The problem is with the biker short, if it comes down on your thigh, then they can't access some of these areas up here and it may affect the fit of the socket. You could just call ahead and ask your prosthetist, hey, is it okay if I wear biker shorts for this appointment or do I need to wear, underwear briefs? And Dulcie makes a good point. Take an extra pair. They may get wet with the casting, right? David says, Mama always told me to wear clean underwear just in case. It's funny. Cuban moms don't do that. As picky as we are with our kids, that's never been one of those things. I don't know why. My kids wear clean underwear, guys. Just what I'm saying. Rhonda says, I was so green, read as much as you can about the process. Jean says, don't throw out your regular clothes. You will need both shoes. Yep. Chuck says, make sure you and the prosthetist can communicate. Ding, 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 ding. That's the number one thing you need to know going into your first prosthetic appointment is making sure you have good communication with your prosthetist. Everything else can be arranged, but it starts with good communication. Okay. And one thing that you can do as a patient going into those first appointments is you will not become the expert on prosthetic devices, right? That's with time, right? And learning what works with your body and what doesn't work with your body. Okay. But the way that you can help yourself and help your clinician is by having goals. What is it that you want to be able to do with your life? What is it that you want to be able to do with your prosthesis? Whether or not it's something that you can do right now at that moment or that it's going to take some time. Okay. But letting your prosthetist know this is what I want to be able to do. The other thing is letting them know what you used to be able to do. Okay. I base a lot of my goals for my patients on what they used to do prior to their amputation. Okay. And also, were they doing these things 5 years prior to their amputation or 5 weeks prior to their amputation? Okay. So giving them as much knowledge about yourself, about your life, about what your requirements are in life. Are you a crazy mom of four who's constantly running around and is in a car like 2 or 3 hours a day driving around all the time? Because that's going to make a difference, right? Are you a mom who also likes to go running? Okay. Are you a contractor that you spend your time out on the work site walking up and down different terrains? Are you someone who works at a desk job, right? And you're sitting in front of a desk for 8 hours of the day. Okay. Jeff says, I wear compression shorts and they put this tank around me that looks like a toga suit made out of bounty paper. Huh. I wear compression short. Oh, and they put this thing around me. Thank you for clarifying that. That looks like a toga suit made out of bounty paper. That's funny. Marianne says, my first prosthetist asked me if I was commando. I was. See, as a prosthetist, I guess if you're an experienced prosthetist, you know to ask ahead of time, are you commando or are you wearing something? Oh, Jill says short shorts, not true bikers. Absolutely. Absolutely, Jill. And they even have those, like, for example, the running shorts, exercise shorts that have the built-in underwear. That's another really great option because the short is loose enough that they can access everything that they need to up and under there. Jeff says, I stand on one tall stubby, make socket, and then switch over to the other side, and I stand for 15 minutes each. And just, guys, for a reference, Jeff is in a bilateral above an amputee who's an amazing amputee, by the way. Kenny says, Mama said, always left like a box of chocolates, never know what you're going to get, and always wear clean underwear. Was that a line from Forrest Gump? Let's see. Jill asks, how do people with bilateral transfer to the toilet, etc.? That's a really great question. So Jill, perhaps for me, the biggest challenge as a physical therapist was not necessarily teaching someone as a bilateral how to change over to the toilet, but teaching someone who has a spinal cord injury how to move over to the toilet. When it comes to our bilaterals, their arms become their main tools of motor. And Jeff, feel free to jump in on this one if you would like to comment on this. Okay, so a lot of times the process is first you need to establish sitting balance, right? Have the person sitting, and I work on their balance. I work on their core and their trunk so that they can stay upright. Again, because they don't have the weight of their legs underneath them anymore, they're going to have a tendency, to tip over, right? Think about it. If you want to just try a little experiment, sit on the edge of a chair or your bed and then just lift your feet up off the floor. What happens to you? You start to tip over, right? Things are just over. So the first thing is usually establishing trunk balance, right? And then working on arm skills. So teaching patients how to push down on their arms and strengthen the shoulders behind them and strengthen the back muscles so that they can hopefully lift and clear their bottom off the surface, because what we don't want is we don't want to drag a bottom on a surface and cause problems there, right? And then we teach them little by little with these transfer boards. And of course, I don't have one here with me, but basically, Jill, it's these long wooden boards, and they're in a rectangle, and they have little grooves in them. So they stick one end under their bottom, right? And then they slide across the board. The board is usually a very highly polished board, so it slips easily. And then they slide and scoot until they get to the wheelchair or until they get to the toilet. Okay. So in some cases, folks build up some really nice strength, really nice coordination, and they don't have to use that transfer board anymore. They can figure out how to scoot from one surface to the other. Okay. Every individual is different. What I've learned is if you give a person good foundation and good strengthening in the beginning, they're going to learn their new body and they're going to figure out how to move that new body from one place to the other. Okay. Um, Jeffrey says at the very beginning, just get on the toilet backwards, face toward the back of the toilet, much easier until you can get around good. And again, learning how to maneuver a wheelchair into a bathroom, how to position that wheelchair, right? And things like what Jeff just said right there. There's the textbook way that your physical therapist, or more specifically, your occupational therapist, might be teaching you how to do. But then after that, it's up to you to kind of get those life hacks and figure out what's the most efficient way to do it while staying safe and not falling. Susan says, I never liked those boards. I always felt like I was going to fall. Oh, it's scary. It's scary. And then the other thing is if you stick your fingers too far into it, you're going to be missing some fingers later on, right? Yeah, because ask me how I know that. Those are not comfortable either. Marianne says, I used a sliding board for a while. Now I just jump onto bed, toilet, car seat, whatever. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And it just always amazes me how folks can just figure out how to move their bodies in that way, which is kind of cool. Let's see. Charlie says, don't get me started. My first prosthetist didn't listen to any of that. And thanks to you, I moved on. Well, Charlie, I'm hoping you found the right fit then for your right prosthetist. And guys, Ronnie is going to be back. Ronnie's going to be back on the show this year. So we're revamping my website and we're going to be putting all those dates up there. So keep checking back. Keep checking back. Jeff says they have a board now with a sliding seat. Ooh, that's kind of cool. All right. So we've got that. Ooh, okay. Here's a good one, guys. Morgan says, do you know of any hemipelvectomy or hip disarticulation pages? I haven't had a chance. This question just came to me like 10 minutes before the show started, so I haven't had a chance to do a search on my own on Facebook. But if any of you off the top of your heads know of any, please put it into the comment section for Morgan. So good. So any of you, we don't often get hemipelvectomy and hip disarticulation cases, obviously not as common. But in my opinion, they definitely deserve their own support group. Or if there's a support group that you guys belong to that you know there's a higher population of hemipelvectomy and hip disarticulation, please go ahead and put it up on here. There we go. High level amputee support group. Is that the name? Okay. Awesome, Andrea. So there's one right there. And I'm going to be jotting this down because I'm going to send these to her after the show is over. Please hold. I'm going to grab a pencil because if I don't, I'll forget. This is what happens when you have 4 kids. If you don't write things down in that very moment, it just goes right out your brain. Am I right? Any other moms out there have that problem? High-level amputee support group. Thank you, Andrea, for that one. Okay. Guys, we're reaching the end of our question session. If you guys have any questions, like throw it into the comments right now. Oh, this was okay. So I 5 years doing this show. A lot of times I'm just throughout these 5 years, people ask me, where are you going with the show? What are you going to do with the show? And I'm just sitting there going, I don't know. I'm kind of making this up as I go along. And what I've been doing with the show over the past 5 years, where I started and where I am now, are two completely different places. And there's been definitely moments where I go, am I doing this the right way? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And then I get messages like the one I got from Robert today. So I just want to share this with you guys. Robert says, thank you for what you're doing. It's been a little bit since I've watched you talk, but to tell you the truth, I succeeded. There are more people out there that will work with less than I thought. Now I have a great job and nothing is stopping me from going further. Like I said, thank you. You are one of those that helped me get where I am. So guys, I have many of you who send me beautiful messages like this, and I just want to say thank you. I don't know if I say thank you enough. This is the reason why I do this show. And it never fails that whenever I'm having my moments of doubt, an email will pop up in my inbox and one of you with one of these beautiful comments. So I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for the support for the past 5 years. Thank you for your encouraging words. Thank you for continuing to send me questions. This has become more than a job and more than a profession. This is my vocation. So thank you again. And hopefully we've got several more years down the road doing this show and this program and this resource. So with that, I do want to say we're going to be signing off for this evening. Next week, we'll be coming back with a general question and answer session. January is kind of the month where I set things up for the new year and revamp the website and get all that fun stuff put together. And then we're going to be coming out with a bang in February with my first sponsored show. So excited. Integrum, the Oprah system, osseointegration. So excited to have them back on the show. So guys, those of you who are signed up for my email subscription list, keep checking those emails because that's where I'll be sending a lot of this information. Dulcie, thank you so much. And yes, I do ship internationally. It's not on my website, but people contact me directly and I can ship the book to them internationally. So thank you guys. As always, thank you for letting me be a part of your lives this evening. Send me your questions through my email, through text, carrier pigeon. That's what I'm here for. All right, guys. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. God bless.